This is Toolin Around. I'm today's host, Jess, with Jameson Rants from Rogue Engineer. Jameson, thank you so much for joining us.
Glad to be here.
And I am super excited about, earlier we were talking about this floating shelf that you had, but you told me there was a little more to it.
Absolutely.
So how about we go ahead and reveal that before we get into the project?
So this floating shelf is a little bit different from what you see floating around the web. I've got a little secret, and it is actually some hidden storage.
Fantastic.
So the cool thing about this is you store your, what you want to see on top of the shelf, just like any other floating shelf, but you want to hide some stuff. You've got some valuables, and the best place to hide those are in plain sight.
Awesome.
Right? So who's going to think to look inside of a floating shelf that's sitting in your living room?
Nice, hidden right there to where you can get to it.
That's
I
right.
love that. Awesome. How about let's talk about the project itself. So we've gone ahead and kind of assembled some of the stuff here. So if you want to talk about some of those steps before we start.
Sure. Okay, so the construction of this shelf is going to be a two-part design. There's a top, which is down here. This is clamped to the work surface, and this is the top.
So that's kind of our mantle.
Exactly.
Right.
And then this is the false bottom.
Okay.
And that is going to be attached to the top with a continuous hinge, or what a lot of people call a piano hinge.
Great.
This is all joined together with pocket hole joinery.
Okay.
But there's many different methods of joinery, biscuits and wood glue, dowel pins. There's a lot of different ways that you could join this together.
Great.
Pocket holes are just simple and easy, so that's how I did it.
Okay, awesome. How about we start putting on the hinge here?
Okay, so we've already gone ahead and pre-drilled for this continuous hinge. So I'm gonna go ahead and switch my drill to drive.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna grab a couple of these screws that came with the continuous hinge, and we'll just go ahead and get this started.
And you were talking about, Jameson, why we use the continuous hinge here?
Yeah, the continuous hinge is used because it's an even distribution across the entire shelf, and it just gives you a nice strong connection. You're not gonna have any wobbly issues or anything like that.
Great.
Okay, so our continuous hinge is attached, and now we've got to add a friction hinge and that's going to allow this the bottom part to rotate upwards and then stay in place.
Okay, great. And friction, tell me a little bit about why you chose this hinge.
Sure. So the friction hinge, I chose it for one because it's cheap. They're only a couple bucks a piece, I think, not even. The friction hinge is basically determined by this screw right here. So as you tighten this screw, it's going to increase the friction and therefore make it tougher for this thing to slide within that track.
Okay, great.
So once we get it all assembled, we would have to unclamp this and rotate it back over in order to mount this. On Ryobi Nation, you'll be able to find the full plans on how to and where to locate this hinge on the top and the bottom.
Great, so once you apply that, you basically have the project all done?
Yeah, well, and then you set the friction right so that it's gonna hold your shelf in place. But yeah, I mean, as far as that, you can finish it to your liking, to fit your home style or so on and so forth. But yeah, other than that, it's pretty much done.
And then as far as mounting this on the wall, we were talking earlier and you were mentioning to me how important it is to find those studs in the wall. And thankfully, our friends at Ryobi have this brand new stud finder, and they call it a whole stud detector.
Okay.
And the idea here is we're able to find the complete stud, know exactly where the center of it is. We can go ahead and mark it with the indicator right here, and then we're able to mount and know that we are right on the center of the stud. Our screws aren't falling off the side.
Exactly.
Make sure when we get home, this thing's still hanging up when we start setting items on top.
Absolutely. So you want to locate two studs, and then you're going to want to drive in two screws, one right above the other, through this board right here and into the wall and into the stud. Those 2 points of contact, the upper and the lower, will help reduce the moment arm about this this shelf. So as you add weight to the shelf, it's going to want to cause this shelf to pivot. If you've just got one screw, the bottom of this shelf is actually going to be pushed into your drywall and could damage your wall.
Okay.
So by adding those 2 points of contact, it helps reduce that.
Awesome. And if somebody wants to see the complete plans, they can go on Ryobi Nation and check it out. Everything's listed right there for you. Walks you through the steps, walks you through the materials you need so you can do it yourself. I think I'm probably going to be busy this weekend once my wife sees this. I imagine this will be in our home before you know it. So if you want to find out more of your designs, where can people go for that?
They can go to rogueengineer.com. I've got tons of designs there, over a couple hundred designs actually by now.
And like we spoke earlier, Jameson does a great job of laying out how to do those things. Use that aerospace engineering to really great use on that site. So thank you everyone who's tuned in. Thank you Jameson for joining us. Join us next time on Toolin' Around.